Hello, and welcome to another episode of Moore's October Rants. I appreciate you all for tuning in today, and I think we've got a pretty important topic on our hands, one that's going to hit home for a lot of people. The episode's title is Acceptance. Now, this is something I've been thinking about a lot recently because it's such a huge part of the human experience, right? We all want it. We crave it. And sometimes it feels like we're constantly chasing after it, like a never-ending game of hide and seek. But here's the kicker. We often lose ourselves while we're chasing after that acceptance. I'm not talking about just a little bit of compromise here and there. I'm talking about the moments when you start reshaping yourself, changing who you are, just to fit in with a person or group. That's where we've got to hit pause. We have to step back and ask ourselves, what's the cost? Because honestly, if we're constantly morphing into someone we're not, just to get others to like or accept us, what are we really gaining in the long run? Here's a hard truth. Sometimes people just aren't going to accept you. And yeah, it stings. It can really get under your skin, make you question everything about yourself. But that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. Not getting accepted by everyone doesn't define your worth as a person. Let me say that again. Someone's inability to accept you doesn't diminish your value. Period. It's important to wrap your head around that because we often get caught up in this idea that we need to be liked or accepted by everyone. But the truth is, no one, literally no one, is going to be universally liked. Think about it. Some people won't vibe with you, and that's okay. You don't need their validation to feel like you matter. The question you have to ask yourself is, why am I putting so much energy into needing their acceptance? I mean, really, what's the end game here? You are a whole person. Your worth doesn't hinge on whether or not this one person or even a group of people gives you their approval. Sure, it's human nature to want that sense of belonging. We're social creatures, after all. We want to fit in. We want to be part of the pack. But the second you start losing yourself, bending too far to fit into someone else's mold, that's when you've got to stop and reassess. Look, I've been there. I've felt that pressure to be someone I'm not, just to make things easier, to make people like me, to avoid rocking the boat. And maybe for a little while it works. Maybe you get the acceptance you're looking for. But here's the thing. It's conditional. It's based on this version of you that you've put on display, not the real you. So then you're stuck keeping up this act. It becomes exhausting, right? You're walking around pretending to be something you're not, just to stay in the game. But deep down, you're still yearning for acceptance as the real you. And that's why I'm saying, be yourself. It sounds cliche, but it's true. Be unapologetically you, and the right people will accept you for exactly that. And if some people don't, that's their loss, not yours. You've got to trust that over time, the people who matter will gravitate toward you. They'll see you for who you are and accept you for that. And it's such a better feeling when someone accepts you without you having to pretend. Because that's real. Now here's another thing to keep in mind. Sometimes acceptance doesn't come easily. It's not always automatic. And for some people, they make you earn it. They might be skeptical or slow to warm up. And that's okay too. Patience is key here. Sometimes people need time to understand who you really are, or they need time to get past their own biases or fears or whatever baggage they're carrying. In those cases, the best thing you can do is be consistent. Stay true to yourself, give it time, and the acceptance will follow. But the catch is, even if it doesn't, you can't let that break you. It's really about finding a balance between knowing when to wait for acceptance and knowing when to move on. Because here's the reality, you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea. And thank God for that, right? The world would be incredibly boring if we were all the same, with the same preferences, the same thoughts, the same personalities. The differences are what make life interesting. So when someone doesn't accept you, think of it this way. Maybe it's just nature's way of filtering out what doesn't align with you. Maybe their rejection is a redirection towards something or someone better suited for you. I've seen people get so caught up in wanting to be accepted by a certain person, a certain friend group, a certain community, that they completely lose sight of their own identity. They start making choices that don't feel right, or that go against their own values just to fit in. And sure, might work for a while, but eventually, that kind of living is going to catch up with you. It's going to leave you feeling hollow. And at the end of the day, wouldn't you rather be accepted by people who truly understand and appreciate the real you? So, yeah, you might have to wait a little longer for that genuine acceptance. But trust me, it's worth the wait. And remember, acceptance isn't always about other people. Sometimes it's about you learning to accept yourself. I know that sounds cheesy, but it's true. We're often our own worst critics, and if we don't accept ourselves first, it becomes so much harder to get past the rejections that come from others. You've got to be kind to yourself. Give yourself the grace to be who you are, flaws and all. I'll wrap it up here, but I just want to leave you with this. Don't chase after acceptance at the cost of your own identity. Be patient, stay true to yourself, and trust that the right people will accept you when the time is right. And even if they don't, remember, you are already whole without them. Your worth is never up for debate. Thank you for listening to this episode of Moore's October Rants. I appreciate you all for taking the time, and I hope you found something in this that resonates with you. Take care of yourselves, stay true to who you are, and as always, don't forget, you've got nothing to prove. Signing out. Goodbye.